Good morning. My name is Corporal Matthew Rolls. Today's brief will discuss the Army Leader Development Model in accordance with FM 6-22 and the Maneuver Self-Study Program. Slide, please. Unlike many organizations outside the military, the Army does not recruit outside its ranks for senior leadership. The Army develops its own leaders. Because leader development is so important to its organizational future, the Army has conducted analysis and developed a model by which to bring junior leadership into greater, progressively higher levels of responsibility and skill. 3 pillars support the Army Leader Development Model: experience, education, and training. These pillars occur in 3 distinct and sometimes overlapping domains: the self-development domain, the institutional domain, and the organizational domain. Throughout the process of leader development, both developing and senior leaders share responsibility. The junior leader, the mentee, must be open to receive lessons from each of the pillars. Similarly, senior leaders must facilitate opportunities within each pillar and help those junior leaders make the most of those opportunities. Slide. Within the context of the Army Leader Development Model, experience occurs primarily in the self-development domain. Experience refers to an individual's skill in reflecting on past successes and failures and pulling relevant information from each. Army leaders come from diverse backgrounds, and each individual's experience within the military is somewhat unique. A leader will use a continuous process of self-assessment to determine weaknesses and strengths. The experience pillar, includes self-study and practice, the leader's attempts to correct deficiencies and bolster strengths. Slide, please. The responsibilities of the developing leader, including essentially paying attention to identify their deficiencies and their strengths, and then to take the initiative to correct deficiencies. That self-study and individualized practice that we mentioned in the previous slide. Next slide. So, the junior leader is not the only one who bears responsibility within this development process. The senior leader, the supervising leader, also shares some responsibility. Senior leaders use their greater experience and act as an extra set of eyes. Similar to how writers review each other's work. Because sometimes someone can see an error, a mistake, or think of a better way to do something. That is the role of the senior leader within the developmental relationship. This extra set of eyes, the insights gained from this, can be expressed in formal counseling or in informal counseling. Slide, please. The second pillar of the leader development model is education. Now, education primarily occurs in the institutional domain. It includes both military and civilian education. Leader development in military education starts with initial entry training, where future leaders learn Army culture and values, habits of precision and response, and discipline. Future leaders develop into competent professionals during advanced individual training. The Army has established schools to formally educate soldiers as they increase in rank and responsibility. The Army also has other schools that, while not necessarily focused on leader development, provide junior leaders the chance to increase their knowledge. Junior leaders, slide please. Junior leaders have the responsibility to aggressively pursue military schools that will increase both their leadership skills and their technical proficiency within their MOS. Similarly, civilian education, while does not necessarily have to be directly related to their MOS, but benefits them in a similar way. Slide, please. Senior leader responsibilities within the education pillar. Senior leaders strengthen the education pillar by approving their subordinates' requests for military education whenever possible, and by suggesting schools that they think particularly important. This becomes especially relevant with more junior leaders who don't have as much experience within the military and just don't know what's out there. Also, senior leaders can enable civilian education by providing time, directing subordinates to resources, etc. Slide, please. Unlike the education pillar, which takes place in the institutional domain, training occurs in the organizational domain. Namely, another way to say this, training occurs at the unit. Training refers to essentially on-the-job training. Training pillar includes unit-run classes for professional development, but most of the development that results from this pillar derives from repeatedly exposing the developing leader to diverse, real-world challenges. This includes the challenging experiences of a training cycle, MOS-specific challenges. This also can include dealing with difficult soldiers, either soldiers that just can't get it, or soldiers who resist Army culture and values. A third challenging experience within this pillar is being that senior leader to more junior soldiers, taking it upon yourself to develop more junior soldiers and turning them into leaders. Training, slide please. Training is where junior leaders apply the insights, apply the lessons learned from experience and education, and apply them to the realities of everyday work within the military. It's where leaders convert knowledge to skill. Any job that demands a high level of skill from its workers will have some sort of on-the-job training, internship, residency, apprenticeship, etc. The responsibility for senior leaders within this pillar is to make sure that these challenges do not overwhelm the junior leader. A challenge, something to stretch them, is important, but the benefits dissipate when the challenge is too much. Slide, please. So in conclusion, within the Army Leader Development Model, there are three pillars: experience, education, and training. The pillars are mutually supporting. And both developing and senior leaders share responsibility within this model. Senior leaders must facilitate opportunities for developing leaders, be willing to underwrite mistakes made in good faith, and counsel junior leaders to help them make the most out of their experiences. Junior leaders must be open, receptive learners. The Army Leader Development Model requires the hard work of both developing and senior leaders to be successful. Slide. Those are my resources as stated before, FM 6-22 and the Leader Development Maneuver Self-Study Program. Slide. Are there any questions?